So yeah, I'll do a formal start here. Welcome everyone, and this is the Q&A for the MassDREAMS, a new home buyer grant introduced about 2 weeks ago, and we have Tianna Saunders of Fairway Mortgage, who's going to give us all the insights. Hi Tianna, thanks for your time. Could you do a quick
Hi.
introduction so we know um, exactly who we're dealing with, who's giving us all this information?
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Tianna Saunders. As Casey said, I work at Fairway Mortgage. Been in the industry for, let's not age myself, but since the early 2000s. My mission is to help home buyers get into homes, especially first-time home buyers. Not afraid to roll up my sleeves and do the tough stuff, but I really want to get education out in planning as a big part of your next step to owning a home. So that's a little bit about me, but I guess you're going to ask me any questions.
Awesome. I hope you're ready. We are here for your wealth of information. So I do have 10 frequently asked questions. We do have some participants from First Time Home Buyer Group New England on Facebook that may have some additional questions as well. But let's dive into number one. How much funds are allocated for this grant? Is this a huge allocation?
Right now, we're told 65 million.
Okay, well, awesome. And just recently, I've seen so much, this two-part. How much is left?
We do not know.
Okay.
They did not give us a number. I did a meeting last Friday on this, and they said they had used some. However, there was still a lot of funds left at this point. They are going to work on finding a way to update us a little bit better. So when I know more, I'll definitely keep you updated on that.
Okay, so as of today, we're in a good place. It's not so bad. All right. How about number two? What is the minimum credit score needed for this grant?
So
is there a minimum?
There is. Good question. Okay. The minimum FICO credit score is a 640, which is the same as the Mass Housing Program minimum requirements.
Awesome. 640 FICO score, not bad. And number three, what is the minimum debt to income ratio? What's the debt to income ratio threshold?
The maximum debt to income ratio. Yes, we want minimum.
Maximum. Yes.
Maximum. That's the important number. 45% back end debt to income ratio. So that is housing debt and additional debt. So credit card debt and things like that, that report in your credit report, car notes, installment loans, student loans, all of that is 45% of your debt threshold. So it's your gross income if we're using a W-2 borrower, and it's 45% of your gross income.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, maximum debt.
That's the maximum.
We'd like minimum debt. Okay.
Yeah, we'd like minimum debt, but get to the maximum quite fast lately.
Number four, will this grant work with purchases of all types of homes, condos, single family, and multifamily?
So the short answer is yes. So it works from condos and 1 to 4 units for the MassDREAMS program. So that is the grant. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Number five, does the grant need to be repaid at any time? There are grants that need to be repaid upon selling. Is this the same type of deal?
No, so this isn't a grant, so it's a gift. It's an actual grant. So there is some misconception with, like, if you're talking about the Mass Housing Program, those are actually loans. They're not grants. This is this is an actual grant, so it does not have to be repaid.
Awesome. So it doesn't have to be repaid. It is a gift. Yeah. Number six. So when is the grant money released? Like, is it at the beginning? Is it in the end of the process? When will these buyers that are approved know that they have, the grant money?
So there's a little bit of a process there.
Okay.
First step is we have home buyers. Go to, there's a link to a website for Mass Housing where you can get pre-approved for the grant. Meaning you put in some information to see if you can qualify for it. And then once you do, you keep that email, but we'll use that later on. After purchase and sales, after you've signed a purchase and sales, that's when we can go in and secure a certificate for the grant saying you're approved for it. So they're going to require you to upload certain documents. Typically, those are things that you would have already provided to your loan officer. And then in a few days, they let you know that you're approved. They send you a certificate of approval. Your lender is going to need that to secure the funds. Then you actually don't touch the funds or see the funds at all. That will all be handled with the closing attorneys, and that will be adjusted at closing. So we'll secure the funds a couple days before you close. But you will know once you have that certificate of approval, that's when you know you have secured those funds for closing.
So the certificate gives you a little certainty.
Yes.
And generally the purchase or sale is 10 to 14 days after your offer is accepted, and
Correct.
in most transactions. Awesome. So with that said, will buyers need some upfront money? Like, will they need deposit money? Will they need money for appraisal? And how does that work? Do they get reimbursed towards the end?
So I always suggest buyers have upfront money.
Okay.
And plan for something. And you can speak to this, Casey. Typically, when you're putting in an offer, the seller does not want to accept an offer with zero down.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely be prepared to have some money to put down for your offer and your purchase and sales agreement. You will have to pay for your appraisal. And that can be anywhere from, say, $450 to $750, depending on if it's a single or multifamily or condo. You want to have some money for home inspection. It's not required, but it's suggested. And so I would say you definitely want to have a little bit saved if you can for those parts of the process. Now, if your monies aren't necessary to close the loan, meaning we do not need those funds at all to pay for closing costs or down payment because we're able to maximize and utilize these funds and that's enough, then your checks, so you will get a refund for not the appraisal, but you will get a refund for your deposits that you made for your contract. So on your offer and on your purchase and sales contract. So if you put, say, $1,000 with your offer and then another $5,000 with your purchase and sales agreement to bind that contract, and we do not need any of those funds, you'll get that back at closing.
Awesome. Great information. So you do need some upfront funds. Buying a home's a little different. It is a bit of a competition. So if you could put some deposits at offer and purchase and sale, it will help and you will get refunded at the end.
Yes, if the funds aren't needed.
If the funds aren't needed. Okay. Awesome. Let's go to number 7. Does the grant cover, and you did touch on this, what does this grant cover? We've been hearing a lot of promotion. Does it cover things like home inspection? It does not cover appraisal, is that correct?
Correct. Well, so technically it doesn't cover appraisal because typically the borrowers are responsible to pay for the appraisals up front. If you're getting your appraisal paid outside of your closing, then it can be used to cover that. So that's something you'd coordinate with your loan officer. So, but most often we really like the borrowers to pay for that upfront. But if it's something that you need, we can always have that conversation and just make sure it's covered at closing. So that is something that you can have covered, but it'd have to be structured and have that communication about it.
Okay.
Okay.
And what are some things that, I mean, we've heard the down payment, we've heard the closing costs, which is great. Are there any other things that this funds could be used for, this gift could be used for that we may not, the buyer should know?
So how it works, and this is a pretty interesting piece. The grant, you can potentially get up to $50,000, which can be 10% of your purchase price, maximum 50,000. 5% of that has to be used for your down payment. The other 5 can be used for closing costs and other prepaid items. So closing costs aren't just lender fees, monies to buy down the rate to maybe obtain a lower rate, attorney's fees, all the items that are required to close a loan. So those are all items that they can be used for.
Okay.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be for furniture, wouldn't be to make any repairs on the home.
No.
Okay. Awesome. All right. On to number 8. Is this grant? Is this a one-off? Will we see this in next year, or when the funds are depleted? Will this come back?
We have no word on whether it's coming back after it depletes. So as far as we know right now, once it depletes, this is it. So we don't know. It was. I think it was a surprise to us all. So
Definitely a surprise.
Pleasant, right? But we're not sure. I guess we'll see how it goes and go from there, and they'll let us know.
Okay, so for anyone interested, this may be
Your
only chance. So, but okay, well, at least we have that clarity. Number 9. We know we need a first-time home buyer certificate. Where can buyers go to for this course?
So you can go to the Mass Housing website, masshousing.com, and they have a MassDREAMS link right in the website. I can share it in our chat line too here if you guys would like.
Awesome.
And that's where you can get your pre-qual, which is nice because the biggest piece to the MassDREAMS component here is where you're currently living to see if you can qualify. And there's 29 different communities.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that wherever you currently reside is one of the communities that were impacted greatly by COVID, and that's the whole purpose of that. So that's why that's important, but I can share it with you.
Okay, so 29 different communities. That would be a great list to have. Maybe we should post that up in the group as well on Facebook, and of course, we'll have contact information for Tianna if you would like more details. Thank you so much. Number 10. I know me and you are working on a couple. Have you experienced any hiccups in the process or any new insights that, to better prepare someone that's considering?
So far, so good. But we are actually doing a ton of training on it to stay on front of it. As a group, we closed our first one last week, so yay.
Yay.
It does happen. I've got one closing next week, so that will be my first completion.
Right,
So yay. So far, no hiccups. I think the biggest piece is making sure your loan officer has your income documents clear, because that's going to be really important when it comes to this, so that we can calculate all that appropriately upfront. We're doing a lot of work on the front end to make sure we don't have the hiccups on the back, to make it as smooth as possible. But communication is key. Any changes, just really communicate with the loan officer so that we can help you navigate it. But it's been really good right now. But we'll see.
Awesome. Okay.
We'll see.
Okay. So far, so good.
So good. Yeah.
And yeah, communicate, over communicate. All right. So those are my 10. We do have a question in the chat, and any other information. I know there's so much we could talk about. But Janicia says, how do you determine how much someone gets, seeing that it's up to 50,000? So that's a
good question. So Janicia, it's based two parts. Where you're buying one of it. Where you're coming from is another part, and then how much the property costs. So I'll give you an example. If you're buying a home and you currently live in Boston, which is a community that is approved for the program, and then you're buying in, let's say, Brockton, which is another community that's part of the program, and the house is 400,000, then you could get $40,000 for the program, right? However, we have to also check one other piece, and that's the area median income. So where you fall on the threshold might affect that. But if we're in those two cases, the area median income is $179,950, which should be okay for most buying a $440,000 house. So those things factor in. If you can't qualify for the entire 50, you could probably qualify for 35% if you're over the 100% threshold. So there's a little bit of math involved in seeing where all those pieces you figure out. But what I like to do is, that's part of the process when we're getting pre-approved. We kind of talk about where you'd like to go, what communities you're looking at, and things like that, so we can plan for it. You know, best case and then worst case kind of thing. But there are still a good amount of funds available. So.
Okay. And for your example, the $400,000 home, you probably wouldn't need 50,000 for a down payment and closing costs, right?
No, not likely.
So you would be in a good place for a $500,000 home with the $50,000 grant. You'd be way.
Absolutely. And here's a great, just want to add this in. The idea too, part of what's great about this program is we can use it in conjunction with the down payment assistance through Mass Housing, which is the biggest bang for your buck. So if you take that and you qualify for Mass Housing, and you qualify for their down payment assistance of 10%, you can also use this down payment assistance if you qualify for it for another 10%. So if we use a $400,000 purchase price, it's $80,000 to go towards the purchase of your home. Okay. So it can make a big impact, and we can use it together. So that's what I'm trying to do most often if we can. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but it's definitely worth the try. So.
Great information.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have James. See with your hand up. What's your question?
So my question is, now if we go to the website and we're just trying to figure out, you know, what we want to be able to, what we need to save towards this program and whatnot once we start the process, is there anywhere on the website that discusses or shows you what like the income tax bracket, like who's applicable, like I guess who would qualify for this depending on your tax bracket, so on and so forth?
There is some information about that. It's a little hard to navigate. I can share it with you.
Okay.
It's not that easy, but I can definitely share that information with you. We have a slide and a list, you know, with all the communities, the area median incomes and things like that. So that's something I can definitely get you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great question. Thanks for being here. And Janicia, I see you in the chat. If I only have 70,000, would I qualify for a $400,000 home? That's a loaded question. You need the DTI. Definitely factors in. So it based on your profile, we can connect you directly with Tianna. So you would have more insights on what you will qualify for.
Yeah.
Can you use this grant with something else? This grant is only for home bounces, home purchases. The goal is to get home ownership up amongst minorities. Does that answer the question, or should I? Okay. Anything to add on with that, Tianna? I know I kind of jumped in.
Well, it can't, yes, it's for home ownership. It's for first-time home buyers only to purchase homes, 1 to 4 families in condos. You cannot own another property and utilize this. I I looked, I know that for sure, but it can be used with the mass housing program. So it can be used with another program. It can be used in conjunction with mass housing's down payment assistance programs.
Okay.
If that's the question, I'm not sure which one, but
I think we got it. Okay.
Okay.
She says we did good. And
Okay.
of course, like we're all in this group, so hopefully we answer a lot of questions, but it's so much information with buying a home that feel free to contact us anytime. Tiana, is there any other information that you want to touch upon in regards to this MassDREAMS?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great conversation starter. Think it's a great opportunity if you find something now. I don't think you should rely 100% on it because it is first come, first serve, and we don't have a way to track just yet. But there are actually not a lot of lenders that can do it. Fairway is one of them. So that's a good thing. I'd say if you're really interested in it, get pre-approved now, see where you're at. Because once it's gone, we're not sure. But that doesn't mean it's the only program out there. Like I said, Mass Housing has some great programs out there, and there's always a way. So let's start a plan. I think that's the biggest piece. This helps us just start to say, hey, how can we do this? This is one avenue, not the only one.
I like that. There's always a way. That's great. And Janicia has another question, and this is for you all, so don't let me keep the questions coming. How much, Tiana, how much do you think one should save of their own money?
That's loaded. I'm saying bare minimum, I'd say plan on at least 6,000 to have around. And I'm just basing that honestly off of, I haven't seen too many offers accepted under, you know, a lot of the sellers want like 5,000 down and $1,000 at contract, right? Would you say
Right.
that? You know, bare minimum. So you know, have some anywhere from 6 to 10, probably 10,000 is ideal. If you do not have those funds up front, you know, have a conversation. We can plan maybe different ways on getting them because you might be able to use gifts or something like that. But we can talk about it. So I don't want you to be nervous if you're saying, oh, I haven't saved enough. Let's develop a plan. And just because it doesn't typically happen doesn't mean it won't happen for you. So, you know, I think the best thing to do is go at it and just have a plan. I don't want to get you too nervous if you're like, oh gosh, I don't want to try until I have X amount saved. If you can, I think it's ideal. But if not, let's figure out what we can do still to get you in the game if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all a negotiation, so don't let that deter you. But you know, that is the rule of thumb for that, you know, that purchase price or that 400,000, 500,000 mark. That's kind of the average around here.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, don't let that deter you. We'll find a way. You should have the motivation, and it's definitely a lot of great programs that with mass housing for sure.
Yeah.
Jane, I see you. Your mind's thinking. Any questions? Okay.
Sorry, no questions. I'm just thinking about, I'm in the same place too, thinking about, okay, how much do I need to, you know, save and have readily available? I mean, as you know, I talked to somebody else that you had referred me to. And so based off of the information that he initially gave me, which was literally the week that the program was released, you know, it gives me great pause. Like, you know, how will I be able to really hunker down and save, you know, certain amounts to have for like closing costs and just to put money down, especially given my income, because my income I know will be slightly higher than what's expected. So that's what makes me anxious.
Give me a call. I know you have somebody else, but I don't mind helping you plan those things out.
Awesome.
We can talk through that.
And so for sorry, go ahead. Yes. So for clarity, Tiana, will you need to have closing costs up front? You just need the binding deposits, correct? Because once we
Right.
get to purchase and sale, we'll get
Right.
our funds secured. So,
Right. Ideally, here's where this really gets good. And this is the bang and what excites me most.
mhm.
If we do this right, it could be put you in a position where you don't have to worry about either of those. We could have enough funds from the grant and or mass housing to use together. And that's where it's the largest impact is. If we can use them together, then potentially you don't need to have any of that. And worry about it. Or if you have it up front for now, temporarily, you're just putting it there for the moment. By the time you close, those funds will be refunded to you.
So,
Okay. So that's just kind of changing your thought pattern. If we can get you in and get you pre-qualified, and we know that you're pre-qualified for the grant, then get you out there shopping for a home, hopefully find one sooner rather than later. And we can use both of those together. It's likely you're not going to need to come to the table with anything. It would just be having some monies up front to secure your deposits, to secure your contracts, which even maybe can be negotiated a lot differently. It's not that it never happens that you don't have to put large deposits. It's just that some of the sellers, it's a comfort level in a negotiation that typically Casey has to do. Actually, it's not I don't have to do those pieces, but we work together typically as a team with, lender and the realtor, and making sure everybody's working together to make everybody as comfortable as possible. We just like saying you have a little bit there. They like to know that you have skin in the game, and that's what that's about. So if we can utilize both programs or even utilize one, that could potentially be enough for you.
Okay.
Because it's 10%. So it's a good chunk of money there.
It is.
So, like I said, no hard sales, nothing like that. Like if you need help, you can call me. It's fine. So I can tell you what to do and give you some guidance on what that really looks like for you. And even help you devise a plan on how to budget and things like that. So
Okay.
I have no problem with answering some more of that for you. Just,
All right. Thank you.
don't want you to be afraid or overthink it in that way, because
And
that's
I'm an overthinker, so.
okay. I get it. Me too, right? So I'm a why person. So I like whys and I like to give them. But let us help you. Like let KC help you. Let your team help you figure all that stuff out and navigate that. We can help you do that. Give you some peace of mind. And just give you more information until you're ready, until your whys are answered.
Well, everybody likes numbers, so just to kind of help you guide you. So for your offer deposits, generally it's $500 to $1,000. Is in Western Mass, you often see $500, and as we get closer to Boston, you see 1,000 around there. And for purchase and sale, 2 to 3%. So 2%, and even if it's not, but just to have kind of a guideline, for your purchase price. So, the same purchase deposit for a $300,000 home will be different than a 400,000, etc. So maybe that helps as well. But we will find a way, and it is a negotiation. So, having a strong lender, an experienced lender that can articulate this loan product to the other realtor helps as well. They just want to get their net proceeds. A lot of times it's not, always just the how. Okay, Janicia, we got another question.
Yeah.
How do student loans affect home ownership? Do you take a certain percentage from student loans, or what happens with student loans that are about to be forgiven?
That's a really loaded question, because it depends on what's going on with the student loan and how it's reporting. So, and then what product we're going to actually use and program. So there's a little bit of a flow chart there. Typically, we either use for qualifying. Typically, if your student loan is reporting 0, $0 payment, which everybody is right now, right? Because it's all been deferred for a while. We typically use 1% of the balance reported on the credit report, or a 0.5%, just depends on if it's Fannie, Freddie, or FHA. So they all have different requirements there. Then if it's going to be forgiven, we have to know what type of forgiveness program it's going in, and there's more documentation that's involved, because each type of all forgiveness isn't the same. There's a lot of different kinds of student loan forgiveness programs. So each one has different requirements, and how we're going to look at that is going to be different. Does that answer your question? So the best case scenario is having someone look at it. And then there are things like income-driven repayment plans. If those are actually reporting, then we're going to use the number that's reporting. But just depends on what's going on. You have to dig a little deeper on that.
Oh, wow. That was a good one.
It's so loaded now.
Yeah.
It's so loaded.
Well,
It wasn't always that complicated, but things have changed. But.
well, this is great. Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna record it. I mean, anything else? How you guys feeling? I think the consensus is that if you're considering to buy a home, let's connect you with Tianna. And this is one of the best times to do it, you know, and then at least we can put a game plan together, and if you're ready now or down the road. But it definitely seems like there's a lot of tools to really get you to that home ownership goal if you're considering it. So I'll be deterred.